Happy Merry Monday, everybody. We are having a happy Merry Monday all the way from New Orleans, Louisiana. I am so excited to share with all of our listening audience all around the world. We're doing the Strong Man episode on today. You all already know that Real Talk with Mary Jae is a social outlet for a positive outcome. And I have a strong man. Yes, indeed, he is a strong man that is sharing with us. Listen, I had shows with episodes Strong Man, Weak Man, Caveman, Camouflage Man. This is a strong man that is represented on today. He is a 32-year decorated veteran, naval veteran. He is a motivational speaker, author, 3 times author, a teacher, a mentor, father. He is a strong man. You all, I am so elated to have on my show today, Mr. Leon Walker. Welcome to the show, Leon.
Thank you, Mary Jae, for having me. I really appreciate this.
Oh, I appreciate it. As busy as you are, traveling all over the world, I mean, changing lives, impacting our young people. Your resume is impressive. I saw your bio in all of the books, and we're going to get into that a little later, but the pleasure is all mine. Thank you again for coming on, Leon.
Thank you for having me. I mean, I'm honored to do things like this. I always like talking to people, but a lot of people reach out, and I don't tell anybody no because I really get into helping people.
Yes, and you're doing that. Listen, I follow you on Instagram and all of the treasure, all of the nuggets, the empowerment that you share from day to day. I see what you're doing and I know lives are being impacted. I saw you actually on another show on Amy Bolden, who will be sharing with me later in our conference, our Women of Treasure conference that will be coming up in October. And I'm elated once again to have you as our keynote for that hour to sharing with all of our women, because you have a strong suit as it relates to women empowerment as well, coming from your background and your experiences and all of the things you share. So I am grateful to have you. But let me tell you, I have to be transparent and honest because this is Real Talk Mary Jae, okay? So when I heard you beginning on Amy's show, I was like, oh my God, he is a no good such. And, I was like, no way, ain't no way in the world I would have been going through all of that. And then I kept listening. I was like, wait, hold on. So, okay, all right, I get it now.
Yeah.
I started listening to where you've come from and all of the experience you've had as a narcissist. And I dealt with narcissists, so I know the trait. And so, but when I began to listen in a little more, and I just see that you've taken all of your experiences and now you're teaching others how to avoid these type of behavior. And when you do interact with these type of behaviors, what you should do about it. So listen, forgive my heart that I judge you, that I prejudge you on the beginning of hearing it. And once I got into listening to you, I just like, I gotta have him on my show, and he has to come to Women of Treasure conference. So Leon, let's hear a little bit about your background. I heard of the childhood experiences that you've had, and just how you came to that point of being a narcissist. But before you do that, I want you to tell the people who you are in everything that you do. I know that I introduced you briefly, but you have such an extensive and broad background. So will you let the people know a little more?
Yeah, I'm Leon Walker from Cleveland, Ohio. I joined the Navy in 1983. I served 32 years. I have 3 children. I have 4 godchildren. I'm a very social type of guy, outgoing, huge personality. I get that from my parents, both my parents. We'll talk about that too. The difference of personality, maybe personalities. I've been all over the world. I like to run. I like great food. I like comedy. I like writing now, where for years, only time I liked writing was writing evaluations in the Navy for my people to get them promoted or get them in school. I never liked writing. I love it now. I never liked reading. I love it now. Yeah, so that's me. I live in Chicago. I've been here. I've been all over the world with the Navy. And I just enjoy life. I enjoy running. I enjoy nature. I enjoy a lot of things that I got from my mother that she used to talk about when I was a kid that I didn't think about until I got older, and this just started happening for me, But That's me in a nutshell. I love animals. I'm an animal lover. I've gotten closer to God each and every day, where it was years where I didn't believe in God, because I didn't want to live a good life. Being pure felt odd to me. Being impure or odd or bad or mean or dysfunctional felt good to me. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm a happy-go-lucky type of guy.
Wow, being pure felt odd.
Yeah, that didn't resonate with me at all, Mary Jae. I mean, it's crazy because I could feel when I was doing right, and it was like it wasn't exciting enough, and I could feel when I was doing wrong, of course, and I knew right from wrong, but the wrong felt like I got more power out of that, and we'll talk about that later on when we talk about everything else. But yeah, that's how it was kind of weird to me, but I understood right from wrong early on, and so I still chose to do wrong on many occasions.
Wow, that's very amazing that you're able to recognize that too. That you know when you were doing bad things or unpure things, it felt good because being pure and doing the right thing felt. Did it feel abnormal to you at that point?
It actually felt boring to me because
Boring.
yeah, I didn't grow up in the church. We went to church every now and then,
Mm-hmm.
and I distinctively remember why I was going to church. I remember always wanting to be around the girls, always flirting and touching girls my age. And so, to be honest, and this is probably the first time I ever mentioned this, but in the kindergarten, I remember my kindergarten teacher name was Miss Watson, and she spanked me behind my legs one day with a ruler, and it's because I was crawling on the floor with my friends, looking up under little girls' dresses. So I knew,
Wait,
I,
what?
yeah, looking under their dress. I knew early on that I had some issues. I just didn't know. I didn't think it was as a child when I was, I guess you can call it mannish or whatever. But as a child, when you're doing those things, it's like a badge of honor. When you looking up on a little girl's dress, when you force a girl to kiss you, all those little things. That was the onset of my dysfunction, but I didn't realize it. And then I never got any help for those things. It's just you go through life and you continue doing things. It's kind of like, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of like a serial killer, right? I was a serial cheater. Serial killers start off sometimes like Jeffrey Dahmer, the Green River Killer. Jeffrey Dahmer started off skinning animals, right? Killing animals, cats and dogs. I never did that. I loved animals. I
Mm-hmm.
started off, touching girls my age, playing spin the bottle, but it was infused into I would say my personality because I was still developing my personality. They say it stops developing or starts developing at age 2, but mine it's still developing. But mine was affected in the first grade when I was 5 years old. So I had some things that derailed me in life early on through my female cousins and then my babysitter. So, and we'll talk about that too. And there was a male in my family member, a male family member that was a part of that too. So my little dysfunctional ways and ill mannered ways and all of that stuff started first grade, and I remember it like as clear as yesterday.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that because at first grade is very early, and to know that you can actually do that, to have that mindset at first grade, to know that you can fall on the floor and look up on the girls' dresses, and now that you said that you have gone through some things in your childhood with some family members as well as your babysitter, and I guess those things led to violating you in some sort of way. At that time, those seeds were beginning to plant. Am I right?
Right. So they were planted deeply, and it was
Mhm.
that I didn't become a rapist, right? I didn't become a child molester. I didn't touch little boys. I touched little girls that were my age. I didn't do anything inappropriately as far as when we talk about age, right?
Right.
But the violation didn't come. It came from breaking a woman's heart. It came from lying to women. It came from deceiving women. It came in the form of being sneaky. It came in the form of cheating. So it all started to culminate at a young age based on what was done to me because my babysitters, not my cousins, were the first two women that touched me inappropriately, and so I was like, I liked it, and cousins taught me how to kiss, and I liked that. I just didn't know the difference between, I knew, again, I knew good and bad, right from wrong, but I knew that you're not supposed to be kissing your cousins. But I'm like, if this is not supposed to be happening, why does it feel good to me? And I was 5. I remember my first grade teacher, Miss Tiller, looking at my face when I went to school that morning, because passion marks, we call them sucker bites, right? But then they
Right.
call them passion marks. They were all over my neck and my cheeks, my face. And she asked me what happened. I told her I got beat up. She knew it was a lie. But she told my mother, and nothing really happened after that. But I distinctively remember the feeling that my cousins gave me when they were sucking on me that morning. And I liked it. But I never processed that as a sexual thing. But I started desiring that as I got older. And then by the time I was 7 years old, a family member introduced me to porn. So this stuff all started coming together. And then at 8, I lost my virginity to my babysitter. So it just started getting worse. And I never stopped it.
Okay. And the cousins were much older than you as well as your babysitter, I'm sure.
Yeah, my cousins were probably 6 or 7 years older than I was. Both of them are dead now. One died from alcoholism, and the other one was murdered by her boyfriend. He actually, I think it was a knife or a hammer. Whatever he used, he killed her with it, and he left the instrument inside of her. So I think it was a knife.
Jeez. Wow. That's really traumatic. I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
Wow. So how were you affected growing up as you begin to really think about what had happened and understand that it wasn't the right thing to do, and now you're dealing with all of these vices? What was going on in your mind as it relates to those cousins? Because see, I know when we're younger, we have these older people that come into our lives that teach us things, and we think it's cool. Everybody that's a teenager probably been with a cool aunt or cousin or somebody that probably introduced them to marijuana or alcohol or sex or some sort of something that was not appropriate at the time. So as you begin to mature and think about those things, what was your mindset as it relates to that cousin?
So as related to and we can have 3 separate incidents, right? My cousins, my babysitter, and my uncle. They all affected me, and I need to share this with you. So we'll start with my cousins. I noticed that I feared women, right? And I noticed that I lusted for women because with my cousins doing what they did to me, I had this desire to be kissed like that. I had this desire to be bitten on like my cousins did. And so then connecting that with the porn that I was watching, I saw how women performed in porn. And I was like, it was confusing to me because I could see the women in porn being innocent or being abused, right? And manhandled. And then at the same time, I was feeling what my cousins had done to me. And can be pretty graphic, but I had a vision as a little kid of pain and pleasure, right? And I know this just sounds weird, but kids can process stuff like this.
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
And so I was struggling with that. I'm like, I love these innocent women in porn. I don't like the way men are grabbing on them and pushing them around and dominating them. I didn't like that. But then I felt what my cousin did to me. So I'm like, I kept asking myself, why do they do these things to me? I see these things in his movies. I'm too young to be understanding these things because I understood porn at 7 years old. And so that's when it clicked. It was like, now at that point, I could have become a hater of women. I could have become a murderer of women. I could have become a serial killer.
Right.
I met a serial killer's son in 2000. I met one, and we could talk about that too. So I started processing it. I was like, I love women. I want to protect my mother. I want to protect my sister, but I hate women because of what they did to me. So every woman from that point forward, every woman that I saw had my cousin's face. I gave them my face because I didn't want those little girls that were my age. I didn't want those women to abuse me ever again. I didn't want them to dominate me ever again. I didn't want them to take control of my mind and my heart and my soul ever again. So I looked at women as people that were affecting me in a negative way. So for me to give these women that I'm dating my cousin's face, it gave me strength to want to fight back. not knowing that these women were innocent. They weren't my cousins. But I had to do that because I had to protect myself. And so I would see women as my cousins when I was dating. So that gave me strength. It took away the fear. And then it also allowed me to control the lust that I have for women and allowed me to want to control them and dominate them and not them dominate me. So my narcissistic ways started at around 6 years old. And I'm living proof it happens. And so I was struggling with this thing to love women or to hate women. And I was in between because I did both.
Jeez, that's powerful. That really is. And when I say powerful, people always think of powerful of being something that is, strong as it relates to something positive. But just the thought of that you process that. Now, what age were you at this time processing that way?
The
That,
fear,
the fear and the power, and you would put your cousin's face on the person that you were involved with to conquer and to gain your power back over the things that were. What age were you at that time? Were you in your 20s at this time, or
when I started, really, well, so there was another incident later on in life with this young lady. I was 14, and she was like 17, right? She chose me out of everybody in our high school class. She chose me. Well-developed young lady. I wasn't that developed at that age, you know. She would snort cocaine. She had a very voluptuous type of body, well, a nice figure, and she had a very strong personality. So she dominated me for about 2 years in high school. Now I couldn't do anything about it, and now I'm confused again. I'm like, now I lost my strength. I can't control these women. I can't control her. I'm being dominated. I'm being abused. It wasn't abuse. I feared my dad. My dad was a very strong man. She had me so messed up in the head was that whereas I would leave high school, go to her house, she cooked me a steak, she snort cocaine, we have sex. I would stay there till 11, 12 o'clock at night on a weekday and wouldn't even go home until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and had school the next day. So I knew I was messed up then because my father didn't play that, but he was working the third shift. So hey, he never knew that I was coming home that late. But that was another incident that kind of like threw me for a loop in my relationship with women. And so I was still again confused. But later on in life, I had to go back, think about my childhood again, and remind myself, look, you can't be abused or misused by women again, dude. I was talking to myself, and then that was the time where I was trying to join the Navy, so I knew I'd be exposed to these women around the world. I don't want to go around the world being used and abused and have women take my money, so I had to get myself together again. So that was another turning point. That was another mind shift in my growth and development as a young man and when I was 14 and 15 years old. And so I had to say, you know what, this is not going to happen. I had to keep reminding myself. And I still have, even at 55 years old, I kind of think about what would I have done better, or how could I become a better husband, father, boyfriend, without having these fears of women trying to control or dominate me. So I had to start thinking that not everybody's my cousin. You know, not everybody's my babysitter. They're not out to hurt me. They're not out to get me. They're not out to use me. Where a lot of men think like that now. That's why we have this disparity between men and women, especially in the Black community. About men want to be high value men. Women want to be alpha females, and males want to be alpha males and want to beta female. All this stuff going on. So that's why we struggle now. But I had those struggles too. So I had to make my mind up and say, you know what? You got to make a decision to understand women better and not think that everybody's your babysitters or your cousins. So later on in life, I felt I had that fear was very strong as far as women wanting to dominate or control me. They just wanted to like me. They just wanted to be a part of my life, but I was afraid of it. The fear was it consumed me as opposed to me being a loving young man. I didn't want to be a loving young man. I was afraid of heartbreak. I was afraid of a woman leaving me. I was afraid. I was emotionally detached, and I was dealing with emotional dysregulation because, again, it goes back to my childhood where my mother left me. So I was still struggling with that too.
okay? So your mom left when you were a child.
So that's a whole nother story, right? In the 6th grade, as I'm dealing with being molested, being molested by my cousins and my cousins and my babysitter, being touched by a male member of my family, my mother and father arguing. I had great parents. I always say this, and I always will. Great parents, loving parents, very strong parents. but they had their issues too. And my father's issue was at the time was alcohol. My mother's issue was it wasn't even drugs at that time. She didn't start getting high on crack until the 80s. But they had they fought a lot, you know, and so we lost our house in the sixth grade, and I blame my mother for it. I didn't know why we lost our house. I blame my mother for it. So that had that 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 compounded my issues that I had towards women or with women. You know, they raped me, they molested me, and now my mother's leaving me. My mother moved
Got it.
house. So when we lost our house, my father, of course, back then, like now, the man has to leave the home, and it still happens to this day. He left, and I was sent to live with a lady that I didn't know. My sister was sent with a lady she didn't know, and my mother, my brother moved to a hotel. So I was like, "Ma, you know, what about me?" We were leaving. I came home from graduating from the sixth grade to the seventh grade, and in my suit, ready to go in the house and show my mother my certificate. But they were coming outside the house leaving with bags, and I was coming. Didn't know that we had lost our house probably months prior to that. It was just that that morning was the last time we was going to be in the house, and I didn't know that. And so I come home to a house that's boarded up, being boarded up, and all of our stuff is on the lawn. And I just get the news, hey, we lost the house. You're gonna go move with Irene. Irene was a lady that worked with my mother. She was a bartender with my mother. My mother was a bartender. And so from that point on, I was upset with my mother for a long time. And I didn't get over that until in my 50s when I went through therapy. I went through 7 months of therapy because I tell people I lost my mother 3 times: when we lost our house, when she started getting crack, and when she died. But I never lost my mother, which the truth of the matter is I just didn't understand. Me being a young man, I sided with my dad.
Wow, I understand that. I understand that at that young of an age, being violated as a young boy with female cousins. And you see, it's so good that you bring this out because a lot of times we think it's mostly men. And, I don't know what the statistics are on that. But in many cases, we leave our children with other women to babysit, not knowing that because it's a woman that they will be okay. That's what we think. That's what we will hope for, especially because it's a relative. They definitely should be okay. But now you've had these ideas in your mind about women from a little bitty boy, and then to have your mom not be there for you, because that was going to be one of my questions, like, what did you tell your parents, that your cousins violated you, that your uncle did this to you, did your family members know? That was going to be one of my questions. So knowing now that you felt rejected by your mom in some way, you felt you sided with your dad because that was your vision of women and how women were,
Right.
In your little mind at that age. And then to take your cousins' faces and put them on women that you interacted with and felt like you're going to gain your power and control because you're going to have control and manipulation over them
Oh, yeah.
this time. No longer will you be the little boy that will lay by and let these women just take control of you. You have all the power now. You're a grown man now, and now it's your turn to get back at what was done.
And what was worse for me was that joining the military was the greatest thing and the worst thing in my life. Not the worst in a bad way, whereas, I fought for this country. I love fighting for this country. But the military exposed me to more women, exotic,
Mm.
different countries, different continents, different states, different provinces. And so they didn't know me when they saw me coming. So here I am in the Navy, 18 years old, a pocket full of money, in shape, head full of hair, smile, personality. That's what they saw. And I knew in my mind, the instant I saw a woman, I saw my babysitter or my cousin. So it was like dominate from day one, from second one, from the time that I meet her, dominate, um, control, verbally abuse, mentally abuse, all of that. And, there was a time where every time we pulled into port, right, there was this one guy, he would huddle us up and he would say, let me give y'all, let me pray for y'all. So I'm thinking like, I'm 18 years old. I'm like, man, I don't need you to pray for me. So he would get us huddled and I would be like this on the side and they would be huddled up. I'm looking at him and he'd be like, you know, he started his prayer. He didn't get into it, dear Father, dear God, blah, 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 blah. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Give us of our trespasses. Lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. And I was like, no, lead me in. This is what I'm saying. Lead me into temptation. Don't deliver me. And I was
Lead you into the temptation.
lead me into
Do
the
not deliver you from anything.
don't deliver me from anything. And he
Oh
would,
my goodness.
yeah, he would emphasize, lead us not into temptation. And he would look at me, and then we'd turn back. I'd be like, man, don't. No, I was like, lead me into temptation. Don't deliver me from evil. And then they would break the huddle up, and we would walk off the ship. 30 minutes later, I was in the whorehouse. Because that's where I wanted to be, the brothel. I'm sorry, I mean to say, well, yeah, the brothel. So my thing was, don't deliver me from evil. I want all the evil, like people say. I want all the smoke. I wanted all the evil. Lead me. I want to be tempted. I wanted the temptation because I was like, I'm here to dominate these women. I couldn't love. I didn't want to love. I didn't want to hold anybody's hand. I was comfortable being uncomfortable, being in an uncompromising position, and so my mind was turned out early on, in elementary school and then in high school. So I wanted to be, I wanted to, my desire for sex, my desire for women was to go to the highest level of any type of passion I could with a woman, but making her lose her mind. And so that was my goal. Yeah, I wanted to study her body and learn her body better than she knew her own body, so that I can control her mind based on her emotions, based on how I touched her, based on how I talked to her, based on what I knew about a woman's body. If she didn't know, if I found out she didn't know certain things about a woman's body that she should know, I would get upset, and I would like force my way into her mind, not onto her body, because overseas the women just roll a red carpet out for her. So that's why I say the Navy was the best and the worst thing for me. It was the worst from a dating aspect. It was the worst from a getting to know a woman aspect, that type of thing. So all my relationships were based on sex and not getting to know a woman at all. I was like, I don't want to get to know you. I want to get to know your body, because I'm going to abuse you for 3 or 4 days, not in a harmful physical way. It was a harmful in a mental way to break a woman's heart. My goal was to break the woman's heart because they broke my heart. And so I lived with that for a long time. So a lot of these men out here are hurt and broken because they have childhood issues that they never resolved.
And I can believe that, definitely. For, I came up with six brothers, so I've been around boys all my life. My parents are still together, so I can definitely attest to what you're saying as it relates to, men wanting to break women's hearts and enter through their mind to get to their bodies. And a lot of times women are so, unaware, because we're emotional feelers. We don't think logically. A lot of times we think through our emotions, not understanding that you are being controlled at the same time. You're falling in love. This person is deeply in lust. They have no intentions on being with you long term, and then we get stuck, with that sexual soul tie right there. But you said something. You said that you didn't understand it all until you went into counseling at 50 years old.
Yeah, I went into counseling at 50. I watched, as a 7-year-old kid watching porn, I watched the women in porn to hurt the women outside of porn. So my thing was, my issues were tied into my 7-year-old mind, which I had at 40, 45, and 50 years old. I never chose to go through therapy because I didn't want to lose what I thought was my strength to protect myself from harmful women. But I was the harmful guy turning women into harmful women. So I was the one that was in control of, either she's going to be a good for me, or I'm going to make her bad to me. And
Were there certain women that you recognized, that you knew, or it was any woman, every woman? Were there a particular target?
no, it was well, so I didn't get my chance to decipher the type of women, because I was like, no, I'm not gonna open myself up to anybody. All women are going to hurt me. All women are going to leave me. So therefore, all women are going to be hurt by me, and I'm going to leave all women. I had to remain in control. But the thing about it is that I didn't have to be that way. I thought I had to be that way because I kept putting my cousins, and my babysitters' face on the women that I met. I had a fear of being left. I had a fear of being heartbroken because, like I said, when my mother just like gave me away, that destroyed me, and I suppressed that from the sixth grade up until from 11 years old up until 50. Okay.
I can believe that. To come home from your graduation, seventh grade, with your certificate in your hand, to be excited about being promoted, that you made that accomplishment, to understanding that now you're not even with the parents, that you're not even in your home and with your siblings, you're sent off to your mom's co-worker. So I get it, Leon. I get it. I get all of it. And that's why it's so good to hear the backstory of a person, because all of the stuff that we experience in life, where we are, the things that we've gone through, have shaped us to where we are today. And a lot of times, just like I said, on set, when I started hearing you talk, just what you were just saying before, how you did this to women, I was like, oh, wait, hell no, right? That was the beginning. And now understanding the onset to all of those things that led you to that place where you are. I get it. Totally get it.
Two things, right? I love women, and I didn't want to hurt women, but I couldn't get past the
Yeah.
mindset of they're going to hurt you. I had this voice in my head that never went away. I never controlled it because I didn't want to believe that women weren't going to hurt me, because if my mother,
Mm,
any woman can hurt me. Now,
mm,
here's another crazy thing that happened to me. The first porn I saw was black men dominating white women, biracial, right?
mm,
And I mention this because when I turned 21, we took a trip this was after we patrolled the Persian Gulf for 4 months. And you can look it up. I was on the USS Stark. It had got hit by 2 missiles. I was on the fire, and 37 men had been murdered, and I had to carry those bodies. But the story goes, we pulled into Australia. And you know what happened when we pulled into Australia? First thing that came to my mind was the porn that I saw at 7 years old. Black men dominating white women. And all I heard was, man, they love black men in Australia. Love, 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 sex, 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 sex. And all I heard was dominate, dominate, dominate. And that was it. And that's what I did in Australia. I just became very, very promiscuous. I was already promiscuous. My mind was made up. I wasn't going to be monogamous. I had a monogamous heart, like I mentioned to you when we talked before, but I had a promiscuous mind. And so I went with the promiscuous mind. I had a really cold heart. I didn't want to open my heart up to nobody. That was off limits. Only thing that was open to women was my anger and my ability to dominate, control, and abuse women, their hearts and minds. So first thing that came back to me when we put in Australia was the porn that I saw at 7 years old, black men dominating white women. And that's what I did in Australia. I was very promiscuous. I was very open. I was very dishonest, but I wound up falling in love with a young lady, Australian lady, and she was the woman that I saw. She wasn't one of the women that I saw in porn, because I gave those women faces too. Like, if I'm meeting a woman, if I remember who she was whether she was black, white, Asian, or Latino in porn, I would put that face on the woman that I'm dating at that moment in time. So I had a innate ability to go back to my childhood and bring it forward to give me strength to dominate this woman before she could dominate me, to control her emotions and her physiological makeup, the chemistry in her body before she could make any move towards controlling me. And so that's what I did. But yeah, Australia, 1987, the visions of porn, black men dominating white women. And
So you fell in love with an Australian woman?
I did, because I let my guard down a little. Only reason why is because I'm like, let me try this out. I'll never see her again. And I didn't see her again, but we kept in touch. And so she was a person I never abused. I feel like a little boy in her arms when she held me. I feel like a little boy when she kissed me. I was able to let go of my childhood fears and all of the pain that I had. And it was only for 4 days. But I knew then, I said, I can't let my guard down, because I was like slipping for her, like, I like her. This lust, it's great. I love the feeling but I had to get back to being the dominating type of guy. So again, I was exercising my demons, and I was always like flirting with my softer side, if you will. And that didn't feel good to me. It felt good to be with somebody that I could like have fun with and be a little boy with. But at the same time, it didn't feel good to open my heart because I started feeling vulnerable. And I was terrified of feeling vulnerable.
So what does love feels like to you?
To me, love, what I experience as love feels to me, it feels very liberating. It feels like I'm floating. It feels like an abundance of trust, of happiness, joy. I can let myself finally go. I can open up my heart and my soul and let that little angry boy out. Because I've been in love before, but it was still that fear. Like the devil was like, nah, man, nah, we not doing that. This is not for you. This is too good. This is too pure. So love to me, I can cry when I talk about love. I went probably 15 years without crying because I sealed my tears. I sealed my heart. I sealed everything. But love to me, it just feels so genuine, and it feels natural, and it feels like a connection. I can feel the chemistry. I can feel the compatibility. I can feel the honesty. When you love somebody, and I've had that before. I can honestly say, I was on this radio show and they asked me, when do you know you got the right one? I was like, I always had the right one. They had the wrong one in me. So,
That's good.
yeah, so
That's,
I've had, I'm not gonna brag, but I've always had good women because they meet me, they come genuine. But I'm like, they have no idea who they're really talking to because I'm gonna flip out in 3 days. I was conditioned to walk away from every relationship. I was conditioned to walk away from families. I was conditioned to watch a woman cry and laugh at her and smile at her after I just cheated on her or called her a name. I was conditioned to those things, and I always blamed it on my cousins and my babysitter and my mother, which was not the case. I had to come out of that because I found out that after studying my father was verbally abusive. My father was he was very monogamous, but I chose to be promiscuous. So going back to what I was saying, love, it feels it felt like I was growing. It felt like I was maturing. It felt like I was like finally reaching the point where I got this. This is what love is all about. But it didn't last long because I would go back to that promiscuous mindset and that fear of loving and that fear of holding a woman's hand and that fear of being vulnerable and that fear of submitting to a woman, which men can do and we should do. I've seen men submit to other men at work. I've seen men cower down to other men at work and then tell me I ain't submitting to that woman. I'm like, I just saw you submit to that dude at work. I would call him out on it. And a lot of men are like afraid to submit or be submissive, and we should be because
yeah.
from us, we need things from women. We have to submit to each other. So that's what love feels like, submitting on an equal level and giving into each other.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's really good. So when you felt yourself slipping in love, that feeling that you got that told you this feels good and right, but the fear kicked in to make you think, well, this person is probably going to leave you too, or this person is probably going to reject you too. It won't last long. So you instead of embracing love, the fear dominated and you flee.
Oh
You
yeah, I was a track star. They call it a track star. But what I should have done was talk to these women and tell them about my past because I can be real dominant, like overbearing, overconfident, cocky, arrogant. I had all of those traits. I had all of those shadow traits. Those are not hardwired to my personality. Those are things that I accepted that I took on to protect me from not being hurt. But women weren't necessarily in my life to hurt me. All of them were there to love me and to help me. Women are very nurturing, and I
yeah,
did that, and I was like, no, you're not my mother. My mother left me. My mother got high. My mother did crack. My mother died. My father raised me, which I was wrong. Both my parents raised me. I had great parents, but being the masculine dude that I am, I was over too masculine because I didn't think about the feminine side that I have inside of me, the loving side that I had inside of me, the nurturing side that I had inside of me from my mother. I avoided that because I was just afraid that somebody would leave me like my mother left me. My mother didn't left me. My mother was put in a bad situation because My father and my mother were fighting. They were arguing. My father was mean. My father was aggressive. My father was over the top. My father was loving. My father was caring. My father was passionate. My mother was the same way. But we as men, we take the masculine side because, yeah, we got to be macho. Yeah, you don't cry. You don't be a little punk. A little sissy. I believed in that, and that was the worst thing I could have been told. I was the worst thing I could have been shown until I learned that I have a feminine side of me and a loving, caring, passionate side of me. I was afraid to let that out because I'm around all these men in the military, and like, man, nah, don't love, man, don't, man, the heck with love, bro. We players, we pimps, we hustlers. And I was all about that lifestyle, but that wasn't who I was. I was a very monogamous type of dude, but I was fighting. I'm like, nope, don't want no parts of that. I'm gonna like you. I'm gonna like you. I ain't gonna love you. My wife was a very loving, great woman, morally fit, uh, character, integrity, all of that. My last girlfriend, morally fit, character, integrity, all of that. I was one with the rotten core. I destroyed my marriage. I destroyed all of my relationships because I had fear of a woman dominating and control me. But had I just thought the right way that they're there for me, and I just, like I said, had I told them about my childhood, that's why now when I meet women, I'm an open dude. Hey, baby, this is who I am. This is what's going on. This is where I come from. This is what I'm recovering from. I've been to therapy for 7 months. Blah, 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 blah. What's up? I'm going to date you. I want to fall in love. I want to be happy. I want to be married. I want all of that. And women want the same thing, but I went into it being this dominating type of dude with fear of loving, or fear of my mother leaving me, fear of another woman leaving me. And that just derailed me. I was living a lie that I told myself.
Wow. So what brought you? I realize you said that you went into counseling at 50. Why did you go into counseling? What turning point in your life that you experienced that at this point you decided, listen, enough is enough. Let me go and get counseling. What made you do that?
Because I was still very close to the devil, even as a senior leader. Right, I was still doing that could have gotten me in trouble in the military. I still felt my spirit was off. I knew something was wrong with me. The only reason why I went through counseling, I didn't even choose to go through. There was a lady. I started my retirement in January 2015. I went through my physical. I went to the chiropractor, the dentist, the ear, nose, and throat. All the people you go through to see to check your whole body out. And I went to see about my migraines and all of that. But there's a list you have to follow, right? And so I was going through the checklist, going through the VA hospital, go to see this person, go see this person, go over here to get therapy, go over here, go here. And the last person on the list was a psychiatrist. And I got to the last person, I was like, nah, I ain't going to see a psychiatrist. It ain't gonna happen. So I left the hospital, went back to my job, and turned my paperwork in. And my admin leader, she said, Master Chief, I was a Master Chief at the time. You did good. You got all your physical done, but you forgot to go see the psychiatrist. And I was like, I ain't going to see no psychiatrist. You can't make me go either. She said, well, we can't process your retirement unless you go see a psychiatrist. And I was like, what? She said, no, you can't retire unless you finish this checklist. And she said, right here, there's no signature. And I'm like, I knew what was about to happen. So I drove back over to the VA, checked in. They gave me an appointment. I went back to work. The next week, started my appointment, and I walked in. And because of the admin leader, the lady told me I had to go through that. That's what helped me out. And then my psychiatrist, my psychologist, and my social worker that I was given was all women. And I was like, ugh. But I had to go do it. And
I think that was an ordained appointment.
Yeah, it had to be because, I was in full-fledged narcissistic and didn't even know it. It was all about me. I would tell women, hey, baby, we're going to set up this nice weekend. I got you. But after thinking about it all, the weekend wasn't for her. It was for me. But I knew what she wanted. I knew she wanted her hair done, her nails done. I knew she liked cupcakes. I knew she liked certain pancakes. I knew she wanted to go roller skating. I know she wanted to go walk on the beach and feed the ducks. I know she liked candles, I know she wanted to go to take a cooking class. Let's go do wine and paint, sip and paint. I knew all of these things. And that was part of my conversation about knowing what a woman wants so I can manipulate her and draw her into me and then control and dominate her. How's she gonna tell me no after I did all this stuff for all this week? And I expected to be in bed with you at the end of every night based on what I did from 7 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. I had everything planned. All you had to do was wake up and roll with me. You know, that was my mindset. So I'm gonna plan a beautiful weekend for you, and I know what you like because you told me he didn't do this or he didn't do this. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna capitalize on what you weren't getting before.
Yes.
Emotions. So at the end of the night, you belong to me. I didn't do all this stuff for you. I did it for me. You know, setting up
Wow.
easy for me. That was simple. I like spending money on my woman. I like being a provider. I love being a protector, right? But I didn't love being in love. I was afraid to be in love. You give me 3 days with you, 4 days with you. That's good enough for me. I didn't have longevity. I didn't have staying power. I didn't expect to have it because I was always halfway out of a relationship when I first started, right? So that was my thing. I planned a good weekend for you, but it was for me to be in control and be on top of my game and to not let you into my life and my heart and my soul. I wasn't about that.
So we really need to hear that. And I'm so glad that you brought that point out, that all of these things that are being done is not really necessary for you. And I'm not talking about across the board. I'm not talking about every woman. I'm not talking about every relationship. But I'm just talking from a general perspective of just what you said. I did these things, and in my mindset from the offset of it, the whole plan out for the weekend, all the wonderful things, it was really for me. It was for me to get in, to get close, to hit it and quit it, and to move on to the next, to the next, to the
Yeah,
next.
mainly it was so that it was for me to be in control. And I used to tell my ex-girlfriend used to call me control. Say you're a control freak. I'm like, girl, you tripping? I'm doing that. I was, but doing these things to these women is so that I can feel superior, and I didn't have to give you all of my emotions. You're going to give me all of your emotions. You're going to want to hug. You're going to want to cry, and I'm going to hug you. I'm not going to cry with you. I'm going to watch you cry and be like, yeah, I got her now. You know, she ain't got me. That was my thing. I got to make sure I get you before you get me. I'm going to leave you before you leave me. You ain't leaving me first. I don't want to deal with that pain because, again, my mindset was my childhood. You know, what
You've
my
been
cousin did to me, what my babysitter did to me, what my mother did to me. I'm like, I'm out. You know, you're not. I'm gonna set you up. I'm gonna put you up on the pedestal, and then guess what? I'm gonna pull it from up under you. And when you fall, I'm gonna watch you fall, and I'm gonna walk away and watch you in pain because I win. Narcissistic people do not like to lose.
Mhm.
Do not like to lose. Narcissistic people do not like to lose. We have to take something from you and keep it with us for the rest of our life so that we still have that little bit of control over you. I can always go back and say, yeah, I remember I did this to you. You haven't had that done to you since, have you? No, don't answer my question because if you answer my question, I'm gonna come back around and do the same thing to you over and over again because I have to keep a part of you in my life, in my heart. Even though I don't tell you I like you, I love you, I do. But I can't let you know that. I have to always win. And if you beat me at something, I'm gonna remember something that I did to you that you like, that you love, that you enjoy. That's me, my conversation. Because if you're not getting that now, and you were getting it with me, and I know that you liked it then, and I know that you want it now, I'm gonna come back and give it to you again so that I can win
With
again,
you again.
leave you again hurting. Because if I feel a little bit of pain that you're about to give me, I don't want those. I don't want those that smoke. I don't want those games. I don't want that hurt. So I got to come back and get you again.
So Leon, when you're dominating, when you're in control, it sounds like you're not talking a whole lot. So most narcissists, and I believe this is the case, most narcissists get information, they never give information. Am I right?
Oh yeah. Now you don't as narcissistic. Oh no, I'm not giving you anything. I'm not giving you the ability to win over me at all. I'm not going to give you the chance to leave me first. I collect all the information from you, and I do it by having a great conversation, by talking to you about things about really helping you overcome something. You're going to tell me your weaknesses. You're going to tell me your flaws. You're going to tell me what you are missing in life. You're going to tell me what your last boyfriend or your last husband did not do. You're going to tell me because I'm going to make you comfortable enough to tell me.
Right.
I'm a narcissistic person, so some of the things that I'm ashamed about, I'm going to tell you because I know as a woman, you are a natural, you're nurturing. So
Nurturing.
you're going to want to help Leon. You're going to want to rebuild Leon. You're going to want to help Leon get back on his feet. So I'm going to tell you one or two things about my childhood, especially if I know you have a little boy or a little girl. It don't matter. You have a child. And I'm going to talk to you about my childhood that relates to your child's childhood. And you're going to start getting emotional. And I can see it in your body language. You're going to shift around. You're going to move forward. We're going to talk more about it. But the moment I find out that, once I tell you the things that happened to me as a child and I see that women are automatically nurturing. 95% you all are. If you're not, the other 5% just like me. And I had to avoid women just like me because you're going to hurt me. You're going to try to hurt me like I'm going to try to hurt you. All we do is cancel each other out. We're trying to win the war of attrition. So I don't like women like me. They were my karma. I'm like, no, I can't deal with you. We can have sex for the weekend, but I'm out when I wake up, and I'm gonna disconnect from you because you're gonna disconnect from me anyway. So I'm not meeting women like me. I knew where I could see them coming. But anyway, I'm gonna get to know you before you get to know me. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about me, enough to make you interested in staying around me. I'm gonna tell you some things that other men never told you. I'm gonna tell you some things that other men are ashamed to tell you. But I'm only telling you to make you emotional.
Yeah, that's why I tell women not to give out too much information.
You better not.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to release a book in July, and before releasing the book, when I first started writing this book, I went on interviews with different people, men and women, in a lot of interviews.
Okay, I'm listening. I gotta get my charger real quick. I'm listening.
Okay. A lot of interviews were with men that I would go out to eat, to have lunch, brunch, and they didn't know that they were being interviewed.
Right.
And I thought that if I told them that I was interviewing them, then they would perform a certain way or act a certain way and say all the right things. So I never would tell them. Right. But I was pulling data from different individuals while I was, having lunch, writing this book. And so I tell women all the time, don't give out all of this information, because once a man know exactly what you like, that's why if you go to my Facebook page, you don't see a whole list of all of what I like to do. And I know that's an option on Facebook, traveling, all of this stuff, hobbies and all of that. Listen, I have absolutely none of that listed. I don't even list my status, which is okay for women to list their status as single, but I don't list mine. I am single, but I don't list it. And that's deliberate, because I believe that if a man is intentional about me and he really wants to get to know me, then he would do his research, that he would go looking. I don't have to just have all the information right there for you. I talk to women sometimes and they tell me, oh, he likes kids, or he does this, or he's into that. And then I ask them, what's your Facebook profile looks like? It all is all there.
Right.
Well, they see you interacting with your son. They see the things that you like to do. So this guy is doing exactly what she likes, and then she finds herself in a mess, in a broken heart, in a devastated place. But we give out so much information, and I say we give away too much too soon. So let me ask you this, Leon, and what point in time do you think, especially, and I'm talking about women particularly, should a woman begin to talk about her background or her experiences or her childhood or whatever she has gone through once she meets the person? At what stage in that of getting to know one another should that information be revealed?
So I talk about this in my book, Loveless. It's called Presenting My Past. I'm just the type of dude, I'm very confident that I've gotten over my past. I'm very confident I'm not a user or abuser. I'm very confident I'm not a cheater or liar, or I'm not sneaky. I'm very confident in that. So women see me. I've been told that, hey, you're handsome, you look good, you're sexy, you're fine, all this stuff, whatever. That doesn't mean anything to me. Women see me for who I am. I want them to see me for who I am, because I've hid so much of myself for so long. I don't do that anymore. So speaking from a male point of view, I come out open and say, hey, this is who I am. This is what's going on, because I want honesty. I don't like secrets. I don't like hiding anything. So women, it should always be based on what he tells her. She should just give a little bit at a time. Women have to be time released with their
Right.
spirit, with their heart, with their soul, with their body, with their sex. I think that within the first 3 months or so, you don't need to have sex with a guy. A guy doesn't need to have sex with a woman within the first 3 months. You need to get to know people, really get to know people, how they live, their lifestyle, their past, their parents. I had not one woman has ever asked me about my father or my mother,
Hmm.
ever.
Hmm.
They would have found out that my father had a very extreme personality and my mother had a very addictive personality. I would have told them that. So what does that mean, Leon? Well, I can be very verbally abusive, right? I can be sexually driven. I can be dishonest. I can be very addicted to you. I can be very addicted to your lips, your hair, your body. I have I have addictions. I have extremes. I have a very addictive personality. I have both. So, to continue answering your question, I think that the first 3 months there shouldn't be any sexual contact at all. You get to know a person, what they like, what they don't like, what you like. You need to get to know a person's trick. We don't do that. You
Right.
you need to start looking for white flags, not just red flags. We don't do that. Women disqualify men from the first few 30 minutes. He got a gap in his teeth. He got a fat neck. He got little hands, right? They disqualifying man right off the bat. Start looking for white flags. My white flags are: I surrendered my soul, my spirit to God. I surrendered to cheating. I surrendered to lying. I surrendered to being deceitful. I don't do those things anymore. And you can laugh at me all you want, but I'm an honest dude. And I don't mind going back to my confidence. I don't mind talking about my past, my flaws, my indiscretions. It's funny to me. So women be like, well, my conversation is wide open. They're like, ooh, wow, I ain't ready for them. I'm not ready for you. I'm not blah, blah, blah. Whatever. This is who I am. I'm not hiding anything. So you can wait 3, 4, 5, 6 months and start telling me a little bit about yourself, but still be careful. But understand, when I tell you these things, watch my patterns. Watch how I roll. Watch how I act. Watch how I react. I still have anger issues. I do. I'm working on it. Instead of blowing up and be like, ah, I'm like, all right, let me walk away for a little bit. Let me do this. But pay attention to the man that's in front of you. Women remember everything, but you got to watch our patterns.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid. Open up slowly, but not too fast. So I don't recommend having sex for the first 2, 3 months, really, at all, because you want to get to know what a person feels like from her mind. You want to be able
That's
to look at
right.
her eyes and feel the chemistry and feel be compatible and understand when you talk and communicate. A lot of people can't talk to you and look in your eyes. They're looking up, looking around, looking down because they still got things that they're hiding. But don't all my relationships are based on sex. All my relationships was based on physical attractions and not a mental attraction, not a spiritual attraction. So my relationships didn't last. It was all based on physical and I was based on sex. So after I had sex, a lot of times I stopped liking a woman right after that, and I was still around. Now,
Even when the sex was good,
huh?
even when the sex was good, you
Yeah,
stopped liking them right after sex.
yeah, because it was like um, the moment of intimacy was over, and I just needed 30 minutes or 45 minutes, or I was just there to
That's right.
turn her out or to take her to different heights of sex or intimacy so that I can stay in control.
Hmm.
But she gave it up too soon, and so now there's nothing else for me to want to know about her. The
Right.
the intimacy is not as intense as it would have been had I just got to know her on a mental level prior to physical and sexual. I like her because of her conversation. I like her because of her personality. No, I like her because the sex was good. I don't know anything about her personality or conversation. It's all based on sex. So now I'm out, and it's like, okay, the sex was good. Well, I'm glad I didn't get to know her because I got to know her, I would like more than the sex. I would like her personality. I like her conversation. I like the way she walk. I like the way she talk. I like the way she think. I don't want any of that. This one or two things, and I'm good because, again, I was emotionally detached.
Hmm.
Again, I was dealing with emotional dysregulation. So I was still fighting that love thing, but I wanted to be in love. I wanted to give a woman all of me instead of part of me. I was always halfway out in the relationships, and so um, going back to your question, open up a little bit at a time, listen to what he says, make sure he keeps his word, watch his patterns. At least it is for me. I've done everything you could possibly do in a relationship to ruin a relationship. I've done everything you could possibly do to ruin a marriage, So I'm everything I say. Men don't really follow me. They some do, but mostly women. But I'm not talking about any men when I talk. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about Leon.
Right. A lot of men, and I find that with women too. That's really, odd to me, but I understand it. A lot of men don't follow men that are talking to women about empowerment as it relates to the red flags, the white flags, and what they should be looking out for as it relates to men and narcissists. So most men will not follow another man that is pulling the cover and revealing and exposing who they really are behind the scene. And same with women. There's a lot of times that when women talk more about empowering other women as relates to women, or telling them what men do, women would follow a man talking about men before they would follow a woman talking about what men do.
Right. So when I talk about men, I don't talk about men to put them down.
Right. I understand.
Right.
You're talking about your experiences and what you've gone through and why you were doing what you were doing. And
Right.
so women are being strengthened and empowered through that because, everybody really loves transparency. But I'm saying that when it comes from a man talking about what he used to do and the things that he did and why he did those things, every other man has that A game that is like, dang, why he's giving it, he's letting them know, he's letting them know because I have a mentor that's the same way. Bishop R.C. Blakes, he empowered women and he talks about his struggle. He talks about the attachments and the soul ties that he once had. And he's liberated now and he's set free. So all these women are being empowered because he's teaching women what to look for in those different traits and the same as you. That's why I was attracted to your platform as well, because you share that. Like I said, on the onset of it, when I first started hearing you talk, I was like, oh my, he is a no good. What? And then just to hear you, and I had to keep listening to hear where you are now. What really got you to that point? Why are you liberated now? Why are you free now? Why you want to empower women? Why do you want to help youth get off of porn, or if they're watching porn, to teach them how to break away from that? Why do you feel that you have this mandate to do all of these things that you're doing?
Well, it's a couple of reasons, Mary Jae, because first of all, God has always had me, and I knew this from a young, from a
Yeah.
young. I knew God had me because when I got in trouble, it wasn't like, bam, you dead, you're in jail, bam. It was like, little, hey, my man, you look here, I got you, but you got to quit tripping. And I'm like, okay. Even as a grown man, I knew God had me, so I had to stop forsaking. I didn't want to. I didn't want to abuse what God has given me. I stopped. I didn't want to hurt. I like I said, I really knew I was a good person, right? I knew that I could be very monogamous, but I chose to be promiscuous because I was like heavily influenced by my Navy buddies, and here I am with these women all over the world, all these exotic women. But I knew that I was a good person. I knew that I didn't want to hurt women, but I was protecting my soul and my heart. But I felt good hanging with the devil. He gave me what I needed in life, or what I thought I needed in life. But that wasn't what I needed in life. I just had a rotten soul and a rotten flesh, but I chose that route. And so I got tired of I got tired of hurting God. I got tired of not uh, not giving back to God. God was helping me, but I wasn't helping him. God was looking out for me, but I wasn't looking out for him. And I could feel it in my spirit. I'm like, man, that was wrong, dude. Why did you do that? Why did you say that? So I always knew I get my good ways from both my parents, mainly my father. My father had a huge heart. My mother was a giver too. Don't get me wrong, but my father had a huge heart. My mother was a definite strong leader. So I studied my parents, and I knew I'm like, I'm letting my parents down, by living this way, because I always knew that I had eyes on me. I'm not talking about just regular people. I'm talking about some strong spiritual stuff. I had eyes on me, I knew when I did something wrong, my karma was quick. It wasn't like bam. It was like I said, a little thump upside the head. Oh, I felt that. All right, I know, God, I got it. Mommy, daddy, I felt okay. I know. So I knew I had some serious spirits around me, you know, And I knew that if I go do something wrong or I say something wrong, I'm gonna get touched. I'm not gonna get hurt. I'm not gonna get injured. I'm not gonna be maimed, but I'm gonna get touched. And so I knew, and I said, you know what? I'm looking at all these men out here doing what I'm doing, and I could save these brothers. I'm looking at all these women submitting, giving in to people like me, and I could save these sisters. You know, man, why aren't you not using your gift to help these people? You being selfish. And I knew that I don't like being called selfish. I know I'm a giving person. I'm a giver. Okay. My love languages are acts of service, right? Communication, physical touch. I know my love languages are. I can't stand receiving gifts. I'm not a gift receiver. I don't
So
like
what are your love languages? What are yours?
acts of service, physical touch, communication. I know for a fact what mine are, you know, but and I'm writing another book and make sure you get a copy of it. It's called The Seven Loveless Traits. We'll talk about that another day. But it's the opposite of the love languages. But I know what my love languages are. Acts of service, physical touch, communication. I don't like gifts, right? Words of affirmation are cool too. Quality time. I like quality time. So
Those are mine. Mine is the same. Mine is acts of service and quality time.
yeah,
That's mine.
that's
Now I'm really amazed that because of all of your promiscuity that it's not physical touch. Why do you think that is?
probably because I know why, exactly why, because I was touched inappropriately. So I had fear. Even though I tried it in the kindergarten, I got spanked for it. Even though so my touch thing, it was to get a woman to touch me. It was to control her mind to make her want to do things to me, right? And it wasn't my thing. Was like to touch, 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 touch. It was to make her want to touch me and come into my world and be manipulated. So
So do you find most of the women that you interact with, were you the aggressor? Were you the one to be the pursuer, or were these women actually pursuing you first?
uh it was both, a little bit of both, right? But
Okay.
to me first, I had to take a step back. Like, is this Leon coming at me? You know, is she gonna be my karma? I had to study her because I'm like coming at you with this is little Leon. I ain't ready for. I'm not ready. Like, no, no. Let me. And I met some women like that, and I was like, ooh, this is gonna be tough. You know, so those are the women that I could just have fun. When I tell them, look here, look, baby, you just like me. So we ain't going nowhere with this. I already know. You know, you hurt, you damaged, you bruised,
Right.
you abused, all of that. I could see it. They would start laughing and smiling. I'm like, see, I see the demon in your doggone eyes. You can see him in my eyes. So I talk about that in Love Ship too. About no, I think that one is in my next book, Seven Loveless Traits, about mirrored hell. I call it mirrored hell.
Wow.
Seeing somebody just like me, I see him coming, and I feel him coming, and I'm like, oh no, we gonna hang out, we gonna smoke, drink, laugh, fight, argue, have sex, but after that, I'm done with you because this is too much. You are too draining for me. I don't want no more parts of you. Give me 3 hours with you, and I'm done. You know, because
Yeah.
she was just like me. I see me coming in a woman.
I had a Facebook Live I did one night because at 10 p.m. I do something called Matters of the Heart. And I actually had a topic that was entitled, Hello, Sir, Have Our Demons Met? That was
Ooh,
the title
yes.
of my Matters of the Heart. And I'm going to go back to that. I shared that on social media. I had started taking it from my live platform and putting it in my group with the women to empower them to get into real in-depth conversations, because I find a lot of men come into the room just to hear, just to listen. That's why I said that. That's, not odd that you would attract more women. And a lot of times I attract more men. And I think the men are there just to hear and to know what I'm saying to the women. I have relationships with even some girlfriends whose husband may not or may not even particularly care for me to friend their wives because of the things that I share with them, so I'm really knowledgeable as it relates to these because of my own experiences as well. So that's why I wanted to know what is going on behind the scene with Mr. Leon Walker, the one who said that he has a promiscuous mind, but a monogamous heart, you know? And when I heard that, I was like, okay, I got to bring them on Real Talk Mary Jae, because these ladies out here, we really need to hear this kind of information. We really need to understand it. And we need to know what's the mechanism behind the scene that is causing all of this to come out. So now here you are, Mr. Walker, with the Love Ship. And tell us about that.
So I started writing that book in like September, and it only took me 30 days because I was sitting at home, and a friend of mine told me, "Hey, you need to write a book about relationships." And I was like, "All right." I just started writing it, and it came out based on my hurt, my pain, my egregious ways, my disrespectful ways, my misleading ways, and I talk about everything, and uh, it's selling pretty well. It goes up and down, fast and slow, depends on how I promote it. But I wanted to talk to people about relationships and from my perspective, because like I said, Mary Jae, I've done possibly everything you can do in a relationship, bad and
Mhm.
wrong. Even having a child while being engaged. I had 2 women pregnant at one time. I'm not proud of that by any means, and that was part of my 2 years, about 2 of the worst years of my life. When that happened. So, Love Ship came out, and I want people to understand many things in that book. Love languages. I talk about love languages. I talk about reasons and seasons. I talk about um, uh, shadow traits. I talk about personalities, my personality. I talk about when I stalked my girlfriend back in 1992. I talk about growing and climbing in love instead of falling in love. It's about 288 pages, might be 300. It's about 300 pages. I talk about the body parts of a woman that men neglect. I talk about a whole lot of things in Love Ship. And I put my heart and soul into that book because I want people to understand relationships from a different perspective, not from a male dominant perspective, not from a female dominant perspective. But I also talk about, mirrored hell, or meeting women just like I was. So I got deep into this book, and I want people to understand what it's all about. Um, and I go over everything, but we have a tendency to forget or not even know about our love languages. I was operating my love languages for a long time. I didn't even realize it. Had you asked me about my love languages 10 years ago, I would not have known. That's why I'm writing this book about loveless traits, not the loveless language, loveless traits that we don't even think about. We don't even talk.
Loveless traits. That's
Yeah.
good.
And I'll make sure you get a copy. It's called The 7 Loveless Traits. And I embodied all of them, which encompasses sins. And that's another thing called uh, it's good deeds. So it's like 8 good deeds that you have, and the 7 sins that we have. I had all of that. So yeah, women need to understand men. Men need to understand women. Men need to understand that we are part of our mother as well. Stop just being your father, your dad. A lot of times you have a good-looking man with a car, a house, a good job, but he doesn't know how to treat a woman, and all she wants to do is to cuddle and be held or hold or be hugged or hold her hand or say, "Baby, you look good today. You smell good today. I like the way you smile. I like your earlobes, your eyelashes. I like your forehead." Women want the small things. If they don't get the small things, they become vulnerable and they fall for small people, small-minded men, or
That's right.
men that we think are small-minded but are big-minded men. We don't look at them as being, having big brains, because we look at them as being less than us because they're doing the things that women want. And so therefore we start calling them simps or Captain Saver, HOE. But those are the men that I learned from, and I should have learned from years ago, that do the small things, that pay attention to the small details of women. It's the little things that count. It's not the big things. Anybody can get a house. All you got to do is have a credit score of 600. Anybody can get a car. You can have a credit score of 540. Can you get a good woman? Can you keep a good woman? Can you stay in a relationship? Can you have longevity? Can you keep her inspired? Can she inspire you? Can you put her up on a pedestal? Can she put you up on a pedestal? Can y'all love each other? Can you be genuine? Can you have each other so much, have each other's back, and you have chemistry and compatibility that nobody can tell you about him or nobody can tell you about her? Do you have that connectivity? And that's what I want. We don't have that often. We think that we just have to have a big house, a nice car, and dress and look good and smell good, and really put it down in the bedroom. But that's only 4 things that women need. And they need a lot more than that, but it's not that hard. It's really, really simple, but we make it hard.
You make it hard. Leon, we have about 5 minutes left on air. I want to pull up this video of you, this footage that I heard on Instagram. I hope our listening audience can hear it as well, because I thought it was very, very impactful. As a matter of fact, you have so much content there on your YouTube channel, on your Instagram, as well as TikTok, and you're just blowing it up everywhere, I tell you. So this is one that I wanted them to hear.
There are various levels of narcissistic people. Read them, learn them, get to know them. Realize that you are being used and abused. You have to be tired of the narcissistic person. They'll come back over and over again. They don't like losing. They want to take something from you and keep it for the rest of their life so that they can feel like they have power over you. Remove yourself and don't go into a relationship with another narcissist.
That's it.
That's the narcissistic. Yeah, that's true. I'm speaking because I was that dude, you know. I'm not speaking to tell on men. Like I say, men have a hard time with listening to me. That's fine. But it's like, you're giving up the man code, all this other secret stuff. I don't have a man code. I love my brothers, you know, I protect them, whatever. But I got tired of having secrets. Those secrets were killing me, you know.
Well, I tell you, I had a man, this was about 3 years of maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I believe it was. And I had the Strong Man episode on my show. And I picked different men to come on to talk about different subjects. I had one to talk about the caveman. And the caveman is the man that goes into his cave and doesn't come out. He goes into his cave, and all of these mental thoughts that are going on in his head, he keeps them there. And he goes out, he conquers, he gets what he wants. He drags them back in the cave. That's the caveman. In my opinion, these are my own definitions, right? The camouflage man was the man that is pretty much of a narcissist, the one who puts on a face and shows his representative, wants you to see that version of himself, not wanting to show you who he really is. That was the camouflage man. And then I had the strong man, which are, you know, the men that have been liberated, the men that are free, the men that have overcome some things, that have gone through a whole lot of tough stuff, and now they're strong. So I had this particular man that I knew that I wanted him to come on my show to talk about the camouflage man.
Right.
And he said, absolutely not. He was like, Mary Jae, I am not coming on your show to talk about camouflage man. I'm going to have all of these men, you know, mad at me. And I was like, whoa, really? You know, I was really shocked that he had that type of response. But he did not want to come on to talk about the camouflage man. Matter of fact, he was trying to change my show and tell me what I should be talking about on my own show. He would not do it. And I understood later down the line, it manifests because he was still that camouflaged man. You know, he was still that person that was still dealing with those things.
Right. You know what, Mary Jae? I'm going to tell you this. Whether you're a caveman, you're a camouflage man, you're a strong man, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about heterosexual men. You want to be a high value man. You want to be in charge and control. Blah 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 blah. Right? Check this out. And we talk about it at the end of the day, right? The heterosexual man. At the end of the day, you're on your phone. Regardless of what you say about women, women need to be subservient, docile, submissive. At the end of the day, whether you're sitting at your chair, whether you're on the couch watching ESPN, whether you're in a shower, on a toilet, on a grill, whatever, you waiting on a woman. Period. I don't care what type of man you consider yourself. Caveman, camouflage, strong man, high value man, alpha male. You still looking for a woman at the end of the day. Period. Regardless of what it's for, heterosexual men at the end of the day call Lisa, want to see Karen, want to hook up with Cynthia, you know, want to take Jackie out to dinner, want Francis come over and give him a back rub. At the end of the day, you still have a desire for a woman. So that's how I look at it. All this stuff you're talking about, high value man, being in charge, you submit to me, you bow down to me, blah, 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 blah. But when I need my needs met, I'm calling the woman.
Right.
And I don't feel whole, I don't feel complete until at the end of the day, I'm with this woman, period. Men can call me whatever the hell they want to call me. I know what I'm talking about.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Listen, I am so happy to have you sharing with us today on Real Talk with Mary Jae. I told you all we were going to keep it real raw and relevant on today with Mr. Leon Walker. I am so glad. Leon, would you let the people know how they can get in touch with you?
I'm on Instagram as I Inspire One, Facebook, Leon R. Walker Jr., LinkedIn, Leon R. Walker Jr. My YouTube is Leon. Everything is Leon R. Walker Jr. You can Google me. You'll find my books and some of the TV shows I've been on. Google Leon R. Walker Jr. My website is I Inspire One. And that's where you can find me all over Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Leon R. Walker Jr., LinkedIn, Google. Easiest way is to Google me and everything pops up.
Awesome. Awesome. So happy to have you sharing with us on Real Talk with Mary Jae. Leon. You brought so much value. Can't wait till October for Women of Treasure. Our theme this year is I'm Worth It. And I am elated to have you to be our keynote speaker for our conference October. So thank you for coming on. Did you have a happy Merry Monday on today?
I did. I had this, talking about relationships, talking about my life, my lifestyle, my past. And then the way you brought the questions out and the way you carried on with the dialogue and led me here and there, I really enjoyed it. It don't even feel like a Monday. It feel like a Thursday or a Friday. I'm ready to go out and get at it again. But thank you for having me, Mary Jae, and I look forward to your conference as well later this year. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Thank you for coming on. And listen, I could have gone on and on and on with this dialogue. We could have 2 more hours of this, but I know we're going to have you back on at another time, and I can't wait to have you to come for our conference in October. Happy Merry Monday to you as well, Leon.
Happy Merry Monday to you too, Mary Jae. Thank you. I'll talk to you.
Thank you for coming on.
All right, bye-bye.